This meeting is being recorded.
What's going on, y'all? This your boy, Chris Simmons, coming to you with another podcast episode on this Tuesday evening, man. Y'all already know what it is, man. It's the 1st of February, which y'all already know what that means. It's Black History Month, man. Y'all know what I'm saying? Shout out to all my brothers and sisters, all my ancestors, you know what I'm saying, that risked their life to be able to fight for black rights and liberation. Because I have to be honest. I would not be here today if it was not for my ancestors that, decided to risk their life to, be able to march out in them streets and to be able to stand up against white supremacy. I understand that we still got some ways to go, man. You know what I'm saying? There's no way, shape, or form that things are where, at least I would like it, or at least most of Black America would like it to be. But, we are still in a constant fight. You know what I'm saying? But I know that, this is the month where we take time to salute to all the icons and African American history. I know one popular one that everybody knows, Martin Luther King. And I mean, we just celebrated his birthday about a few weeks ago. We got Malcolm X, my brother. We got Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, Marcus Garvey. I mean, I can keep going on and on and on, but you get the point. This is the time where we celebrate and reflect on all the things that our ancestors have done. And I'm gonna do a lot more this month. I know that I'll have to admit I've been slacking, but I know this month I know that there are some events going on in my school. So there's some Black History events that's going on, so I'll be taking part of that discussion. I'm interested in going to one next week, next Tuesday. It's called I'm Blacker Than You. And I was reading the description, and it seems like a very open dialogue conversation. Definitely going to take place in that. Hopefully get a chance to participate in some more events because, I'm really passionate about this. In honor of Black History Month, I also got a book. This right here. I don't know if you guys read this, but the new Jim Crow, the mass incarceration. This talking about basically the justice system and talking about how there's some racial disparities in the justice system and just all that. So in honor of that, I want to continue to keep learning, continue to keep brushing up on my history because it's very important. You know what I'm saying? It's very important, and I want to continue to keep educating myself in terms of that regard. But anyway, I thought I had to just open up with that. I couldn't slip past that, knowing that's February 1st, knowing that Black History Month is one of those months that gets looked over. But I had to make light to that event. But anyway, as you can see, we're gonna have another great episode today. She don't need no introduction. She came on my show last time. Very inspiring, very bright young lady that's on my podcast today. So, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Miss Sandra Cruz. What's going on with you, girl? How you doing?
Hey, Chris, how are you? Thank you for having me. I just want to point out, I love how you were about to say young lady. You can always use young with me.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. I should just went ahead and said it. I should just went ahead and said it for real. I don't think it would offend you. I don't think it would offended you at all.
Not at all, not at all. And let me tell you, it's a great month. I love your introduction. It's absolutely a great month.
Yes,
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you for having me once again.
Yes, ma'am. I can already feel that this is going to be a really great episode. As you can see, this time we're going to have some video because last time when I tried to record a podcast with her, this Zoom wasn't working for some reason. That's why I did not post the YouTube version because you couldn't even see my face. But now you can see my face. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to make sure I'm going to put this out there on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? So we will have a video version of me and Sandra. So I am excited. I'm glad that Zoom decided to work today. Hopefully one day we can get in person and do an episode. But as of right now, we're just going to continue to keep rocking and rolling with Zoom. But anyway, man, I'm going to go ahead and get right into the topic because this is a topic that I meant to talk about early in the year. I know that I was supposed to be on with another lady, but I know she has some stuff. She has some family stuff coming up. So she will not be on till later in the year. But it's all good because I got somebody else who's willing to step in and do it because, we like I said, we connected on a personal level, and I'm glad that she is able to do this episode. So it went well. The reason I say that because it was part of my model going into 2022. And for those of you who don't know, I do a model every year We actually started this in like 2020. I started, doing models for each year. Last year was making a difference. So 2021's model was making a difference. Now 2022, I came up with this motto, and I'll tell you in a minute. So for Christmas, just this past Christmas, I got a gift. And the gift was very unique. So I haven't done a prop on this show, but I'm gonna see if I can hold this up. It's pretty big. We got a travel bag. So this is what I got. I got a little Ricardo travel bag. You can see it's like a little carry-on bag. Hold on. Let me see it. I know I got the computer camera on, but I got a little travel bag for Christmas. And that was one of the only things I really got for Christmas on Christmas. And I was looking, I'm like, man, this is actually nice. Like I actually needed another travel bag because the one I had it's starting to tear up. So it was just kind of a coincidence how I got that travel bag on Christmas morning. I was very thankful for it. My parents had went out and got it for me, so I was very appreciative of them. So I was like, I was looking at it. I'm like, man, like, what would I really need to use a travel bag for? And it was kind of like one of those moments I had. It's kind of like that connection I had. You feel me? Just kind of connecting the dots. And I was like, man, I think this was kind of a coincidence that I got a travel bag because in 2022 is an indicator that I'm gonna be going places. Come on, somebody. So that's my motto for this year. It's called Going Places, which is why I want to talk about this. I wanted to talk about this topic because in 2022, some of y'all might have some destinations that y'all about to pull up to. Okay. And 2022 can be the year where you decide to take off in your purpose, right? So, Sandra, I don't know about you, but I've gotten into travel. Like I love to travel. Don't you like to travel?
I absolutely love to travel. I mean, I lived in Alaska for like 6 months.
Mm.
I haven't been able to do much traveling lately, but I mean, heck, I've been able to move from Connecticut to Maryland, DC to Florida, from Florida to Puerto Rico. So traveling's definitely on my list. And I've been to California. I want to add some more destinations on that list though as time comes. And I think 2022 is just going to be the year for that.
Mm. Yes, ma'am. I know I got some things on I got some places on my list. I was thinking about actually taking a trip to Miami this summer. To see one of my
Oh,
friends. I've never been to Miami. Keep in mind, I've
oh
never
man,
been to Miami.
Miami's great.
Yeah, isn't it
Just
pretty
make sure you
cool?
bring a lot of money. Make sure you bring a lot of money. It's expensive as
Okay.
all heck. Yeah.
I'm I'm I'm
Um,
I'm appreciative of that. I'm thankful that you told me that.
yeah. I mean, compared to when I went there about a couple years. Well, I want to say about 10 years ago now. Wow. I went about 10 years ago and I can just tell you, and I lived in Orlando, and I can just tell you it was very expensive. I'm pretty sure it's much more now than what it was before. Um, but it's definitely worth going. It's definitely worth seeing. South Beach is really nice. And they have beautiful beaches. Caribbean, it's basically Caribbean. That's what it feels like to me, the Caribbean.
Well, how far is like Puerto Rico from Miami? Is it pretty close to Miami or like by plane?
Yes, like about an hour and a half actually, because from Orlando it's two. So I'm assuming it's like two. I would say two. So by the time you get to the airport, you put your luggage in, the one your parents gave you. Um, put that in, and then all that good stuff. It's about 2 hours.
Hmm.
But I mean, you get here in no time, and maybe you can put Puerto Rico on your destination list as well.
Well, like I said, I've been there. Like I was on a cruise like in 2018, and the cruise line just happened to land in Puerto Rico. So I might have passed you. I might have just not known it, but I might have seen you in there. I don't know, but I
Who knows?
but I don't know. But now I know you over there. I have to specifically come to see you, right? So I definitely got to come check you
Exactly.
out. I got to come check you out though. But
Yeah. And then we can do our live podcast. Like we don't have to have it through Zoom. We can actually do it one on one, both of us there.
for sure, definitely got to pull back up to Puerto Rico and stuff like that. But yeah, 2022, like that's one of my goals is to hopefully go to multiple places that I haven't been to. I know New York was on my list. I thought I was going to go to New York next month, but they got too many restrictions over there, so we're just gonna have to hold out on that. They got way too many
Um,
restrictions.
now that you say restrictions, I heard on the news today Denmark lifted their restrictions for coming in for COVID. So
Hmm.
Denmark could be on your list now.
I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. I definitely want to travel outside the U.S. as well. Maybe go over there
Yeah,
to
me too.
Africa. Maybe go over to Africa. I haven't been to Africa. I want to check out the motherland. You feel me?
My cousin went there and she posted pictures. It was beautiful. I
Mm,
was like, no, I gotta go there. She said it was absolutely amazing.
mm. That's what I'm talking about. Well, yeah, I definitely got to plan that out. And, it's funny how we talk about traveling, and all the places that we want to go. You realize that, in order to get there, you got to have some type of plan. You got to set it up somehow. Right.
Right.
And, usually when you planning out this trip, right, you got to be able to determine, okay, what's my budget? Okay, what's my budget? How am I going to get there? Where am I going to stay? Right. In order for you to have that nice experience to wherever your destination is, you got to be willing to put in the work. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're trying to travel outside the
Yeah.
country, you got to have everything right. And I'll use this example. So my grandparents actually wanted to go to Niagara Falls for the anniversary. I think just this past last summer, 2021. And because they didn't prepare, because they didn't take the time to renew their passports, they had to miss out because they didn't do the work that it took to get on that trip to the Niagara Falls, because they forgot that they had to have a passport in order to go over there, because it's Canada. You're going across the border. If you're going from the
Hmm.
US to Canada, you need a passport. So usually sometimes we miss out on certain experiences is because we don't put in the work to get the desired result that we want. See, your
Oh,
destination
yeah.
is dependent on your determination. Come on, somebody. Let me say it again. Your
Absolutely. I gotta clap on
destination
that.
is
Yes.
dependent on your determination. So, in order for you to get to where you want to be in your life, you got to have some determination, some will, and the willingness to put in the work in order to get there. You know what I'm saying? See, that's the problem with a lot of us. Sometimes we miss out on experiences is because we don't put in the proper work. We don't put in the proper preparation, right? We just think that, okay, we're just gonna go out here and we're just gonna do it. No, in with everything you do in life, it don't matter what it is. No matter what you
Right.
do, if you're trying to run a marathon, right? If you're trying to become a musician, if you're trying to become an entrepreneur or a famous chef, and the list keeps going on. But whatever you do, there has to be some type of planning that you do in order for you to be able to reach your destination, right? Just like when you travel, okay? We're going back to travel. So when you plan a trip, right, you got to have a plan on, okay, what is it that I want to have happen? What is it that when we get to the destination, where is it that we're going to stay? How are you going to get around? What what I'm saying? Like, what you're going to be eating, right? There's always some type of planning process, when it comes to going into a trip, right? So you have to be able to learn how to plan precisely, plan ahead, right? You know what I'm saying? Because those who plan ahead and are able to look toward the future will be able to be more set up in terms of being able to accomplish whatever their dream is. And I want to relate it back to life as well, because life, you got to plan. That's why people tend to be ahead in front of others in terms of whatever it is that they want to do. That's why people tend to get ahead, is because they take the time to be able to plan whatever it is that they're trying to do. So that would be my thing. Your destination is dependent on your determination. So if you don't put no work, guess what? We ain't gonna get none.
We don't get
Right.
nowhere.
So you gotta be willing to put in the work, even if it's hard. because
Yeah.
anything you do is hard. I mean, I don't care what it is. When you plan a trip, it's hard. It's stressful.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like when you plan a trip, like when you're trying to start a business, it's stressful, right? It's very stressful. You're trying to figure out how you're gonna get off the ground. That's probably one of the hardest things, trying to get off the ground, trying to get something
Right.
started. Because sometimes you're afraid of things going wrong, which is why sometimes you are uncomfortable going into a different phase in your life. It's because sometimes, you know, when you've been called to a destination, you may not be familiar with all the obstacles that come with the destination. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
why some of us,
Mm-hmm.
we tend to feel scared when we go
Mm-hmm.
into a new destination or when we go into a new phase of our life, is because we are afraid of the type of the new challenges and the new obstacles. But you got to
Mm-hmm.
get over that. You got to be willing to work through those obstacles and be able to take on those new challenges in order for you to continue to keep growing and continue to keep moving forward in your life. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you stay in one spot, understand, if you stay still, nothing's going to change. If you just continue to keep doing what's comfortable and you never go out and branch yourself out into different areas of your life that you could be good at, you will always be in the same spot. That's why you got to be able to be willing to go to new adventures, new heights, because because risk comes with reward, and the bigger the risk, the bigger reward. So you have to be willing to step out of your comfort zone, even if it's a place that maybe God has called you, that you may be like, man, why am I doing this? Why am I taking on this leadership position? You know, why you got me going over here? Why you got me going over there? You know, I was comfortable here. Why I got to go here?
Mm-hmm.
Because what's happening is you being stretched. What's happening is you're getting into an environment to where you can be able to grow and be able to flourish and be able to stretch yourself to new possibilities. So that's my take.
Right.
So Sandra,
You know, I love exactly how you described it. I can tell you my story. I for so long I was stuck, and I think that what happens when you're stuck is you're not efficient. You're not efficient, and there's research that shows that when you discipline yourself to, um, what they say, stop multitasking, and I'm going to add to that. Um, when you become self-aware of your inner critic, the voices in your head, or we can call them voice of judgment, I think you liberate yourself and you become more efficient in life, to go wherever you want to go, whether it's planning a trip or whether it's becoming the next biggest author or becoming the next best coach. You become super efficient, and research shows that only 2.5% are successful at this, at clearing the clutter. I love to call it clearing the clutter. Why? Because on a daily we talk to ourselves, and on a daily we say things to ourselves, whether it's, did I water that plant? Did I go outside? Who's outside? uh, is Chris going to call me for the next podcast? is so many things we say to ourselves, and sometimes that there's negative self-talk that arises. And I think that one of the things that keeps us stuck is that negative self-talk. And you mentioned it. You said fear is that negative self-talk. Where does that come from? So I think that becoming super aware of the things we say to ourselves. For example, these are like go-to phrases that we say to ourselves. We judge ourselves, we put ourselves down. And some people, I know for me, I used to say to myself all the time, and I remember I lived in Florida and I was really depressed and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't sleep. And when I tell you, Chris, I couldn't sleep day in and day out. It was like almost a full year of no sleep. So I would get up in the morning, like around 6 o'clock. I had to be at work actually at like 7:30. So I get up like 5:45. I'd go in, I'd go to 7-Eleven because I don't know if you have 7-Eleven out there, but they
mm-hmm.
have them in Florida. Let me just tell you, I used to get there a big old cup of coffee. Um, and I used to smoke a cigarette. How does that even work?
Ugh.
Like just fully, yeah, is right. I don't even know, but I was so boggled in my mind because what I kept saying to myself is, even though I had a job and I was working underneath a counselor, I was working for a charter school, I would say to myself, I'm not enough. And these were my go-to phrases. I'm not enough. I can't get anything done. I can't do it. And that replayed in my mind over and over. It became like the revolving door or that broken record that just keeps playing. And so what happened to me was I was stuck literally. It was like living in a box, and the box is your issue, and all you can see is the four corners of the box. You can't look up, and as much as you try to climb, those those go-to phrases wouldn't let you come out. So it kept the clutter going in my head. It's like when you're in a garage and you open it and there's tons of stuff sticking around in the garage and you can't open the door, but as much as you try and you try every single day, and all that, all that tends to happen. And so when you're seeing that you open and you can't open it, guess what happens? You stay stuck, just like the door. It doesn't go anywhere else. And so, like you said, if you have determination, then you, one of the things on that list when you have that determination is becoming self-aware. And when you become self-aware, you are able to stop those voices in your mind. When you become self-aware of them, you're able to say, wait a minute, hold on. Where is this coming from? Where does it actually come from? What is this? Is it fear? And so for me, one of the biggest things for me was becoming self-aware. And so over the years, I became super self-aware. And I started realizing, okay, what am I saying to myself? And I can remember I was in when I was in depression, I was so cluttered, Chris, that I ended up having an accident. I remember I was on, I don't know, for those of you listening who know what Orlando's all about in Florida, you know, they have huge roads. It's like 4 lanes. And so I, at one point, was driving down the road, and I remember looking back and hitting a 4x4 straight on. And it just happened all of a sudden. I had to crawl out through my window. And so I didn't, at that moment, I didn't realize. And so for me, the first thing I said to myself, look at me. Look at how bad I even go get into accidents. I can't even, I don't have a job now, because I remember I had just been fired from a job and I was going home. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have a job now. I got into an accident. I don't have money. I don't have a boyfriend. I don't have anything. I don't have this. I don't have that. I felt like I was drowning. And it wasn't until I started to actually go to therapy that I understood, okay, these thoughts are killing me. And he made me realize that I needed to declutter my brain and put some actual work in, like planning, just like you said. It took for me to declutter my mind, become self-aware, and say to myself, okay, hold on. Hold on. Where is this coming from? What is inspiring these thoughts, and how do I get rid of them? Simple. Becoming self-aware, stopping it in the moment, and reframing my mind to think positive. And when I did that, I was able to look back at everything that I had done and say, wow, I actually have conquered great things. I have actually conquered good things in my life. I think a lot of people aren't um, able to do so, Chris, because first of all, you have to relax. And a lot of people can't relax because of the anxiety that they have. And so when you start relaxing, your mind starts to become clear and you're able to actually listen to those voices. And it's funny because I'm reading a book right now that's called The Untethered Soul. And that book talks about how to actually become self-aware. And it talks about looking at looking at your thoughts as a flower pot. You see the flower pot, you describe the flower pot, and so you have to become that witness. The The flower pot are those thoughts in your head. And when you're able to look at that and say, okay, where is this coming from? Looking at your emotions as the flower pot, then you're able to start the decluttering process of your mind and able to work on that list to getting your stuff done. And so it's very interesting. Um, you have to actually confront these emotions, okay? And you have to let go of those grudges, guilt, and go-tos. And once you do that, you can start the decluttering process. It's an interesting process. And I went through it for many years. And it's not something that you do today and tomorrow I got there. I'm ready. No, this is something you do for the rest of your life because you are constantly decluttering. Because guess what? Life is always going to have problems. Problems never leave, they're always there. It's how you handle those problems. And it's about how your mindset is when handling those problems. And a lot of people don't realize that because they don't become self-aware. So they kind of just go about life. Oh, I can't believe it again. I'm not lucky. I'm not this. I'm not that. And that negativity feeds in to um, mind clutter, and it keeps your mind busy from ever really moving forward. I mean, I don't know if it's ever happened to you.
Now, see, I was going to jump in here as well because I thought that was interesting how you shared your story, about those obstacles that you went through. I can't help but also relate it back to my personal story as well. And I've told people this, plenty of times. First of all, before I share the story, I think, Sandra, I thought that was a great example that you use about your personal story, because I was going to say, sometimes, we're talking about, going to different places and destinations, you know, sometimes, on the way there, you're going to face obstacles in the journey. And so what some people do is that they're running from the obstacle when really it's the obstacle that's going to get you to your destination. Right. And I say that because, I remember in 2020, like when I had my injury, when I tore my Achilles, and, I was out for a minute, and, I'm sitting there with the cast on my foot with crutches. I'm like, bird, like, like what's my purpose? What you doing?
Sorry, I'm pushing my phone away.
I'm like, what you doing?
Sorry, I'm pushing my phone away towards my mother.
Oh, I got you. But yeah, no, I was saying was, when I was in my cast and I was sitting on my bed with my crutches and I'm thinking, what's next? I was like, where do I go from here? Like, what was the whole point of that? But now I look at it 2 years later, it's 2022. And I'm looking at the type of work I'm doing, with the podcast, the fact that I just wrote a book, what I'm saying, out here impacting, touching lives. I didn't even think that I would even be doing this type of stuff. If it had not been for the experience that I went through in 20, I feel like looking back on it 2 years later, that was the experience that propelled me on a different path to the next level in my life. I may have thought, okay, this is my plan, but God took me in a different direction in my life, and it goes back to the Bible verse I always reference. See, the heart of man can plan his ways, but the Lord directs his steps. So you can have a plan.
Oh.
Understand? That's Proverbs 16:9. Come on, I always reference that verse because I had to, dig a little deeper into finding out what that meaning was. See, it's all good to have a plan, right? Don't get me wrong. It's cool to plan. Like, yes, you should plan the outcome, and then have faith on it, have the faith that it will come to pass. But sometimes the destination may be a little different than what you anticipated. And sometimes the destination may not go in the way that you want it to go. So you may have been like, okay, I'm going to do A, B, C, D. Understand? But while you're going through your journey to your destination, God might be like, okay, you may have thought you were going A, B, C, D, but let me go D, C, A, B. I'm gonna put this before this happened, and then I'm gonna allow you to finally get over here and see how it works all together. See, that's what I had to realize. You know what I'm saying? That 2020 year, you know, you think of 2020, you think of 2020 vision, right? You think everything gonna be clear, right? You think you got a clear vision, right? I'm sure a lot of people thought that, you know, going to 2020, but it was a little blurry. You know, it was a little like, oh, okay, like what's going on here? But it's everything still worked out the way God had intended it. You know what I'm saying? So I just had to learn how to be still because I'm trying to take too much control over things I don't have no control over. And that year taught me that I have no control over some things in this world. The only thing I can control is when I get up, I can control two things: my attitude and my effort. That's it. If I'm blessed to wake up in the morning, the only thing that I can control is my attitude about it and the type of effort I'm willing to put forward. So I had to realize during that time, I had to go out and execute on the plan that God has. And I asked God during that time, okay, what is it that you want me to do? What is it that I should be doing throughout this time? Reviewed it to me, and that's what I was, you know, and here we are now. This is where we're at right now because I decided to be still and continue to elevate myself to go toward the destination that I was already called to be. See, that's see that see
That's powerful.
I'll be preaching on here. Come on, girl. I'll be
Can I
preaching
get
on
an amen?
yeah, hey, let the church say amen.
Hey,
See,
let us say amen. Let me tell you, let me jump in there. Here's so true what you say. You know, God has a plan for you. But how many of us really think about that? How many of us really sit down and say, oh my gosh, let me think about this. Where should I be going? Should we incorporate them? You know, and like you said, you may be planning something, but God is planning something else. And life itself will take you there. And so no matter how much, it's like going against the grain. It's like going against that wave and going against that wave of things, going against. I've always used this example, going into that wave of things, going against that wave of things, and it's like a big wave. It's like the ocean, right? When there's a wave, when you surf here in Puerto Rico, there's a wave. They always teach you what you got to do is let the wave come over you and just go with the wave, right? And what happens? You always come out on the other side. So when you can't control something, it's about taking that wave and just going, okay, releasing, letting go. You're going to come up on the other side. But here's the most important part: learning. What did you learn from that experience? And I read a meme the other day that said, releasing, what is it? Releasing the past, but releasing the past and taking what you learned with it into the future is the most important thing. So, um, you know, a lot of people don't realize that. And so they keep going and they keep going in that same direction and then wonder why they never get to where they want to go. So I think that what you said is actually true. You know, God has a different plan sometimes. And we've got to widen ourselves enough to know what's going on and be able to see that and think outside the box.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Yes, ma'am. There you go. Now, I'll also say this as well. Um, you know, when you have a certain, you know, destination that God has called you to be, don't worry about trying to bring your homeboys and your friends who don't understand what's happening. Understand? Because sometimes, you know, when we follow God, we got to be willing to give up what we thought we knew in order to go in the same direction that God wants us in our life. See, sometimes we try to carry around bags. Come on, somebody. See, when we have a destination that we've been called to go, sometimes we bringing around, we trying to have people come with us. Sometimes it may not require that. Sometimes you just got to get up and walk. You understand? Because some of us, when we take off in the airplane, right? When we take off in that private jet, Some of us, bruh, we be trying to go back to our past and to people that ain't got no support in us. See, you can't be worried about, oh, what's this person gonna think? Oh man, like I thought that I was going to be doing this because this person told. Come on now. See, one thing we forgot is not their life. Just because something didn't work out, for the good of somebody else, don't mean it ain't gonna work out for the good of yourself. See, that's what we
Right.
missing because we trying to
Right.
bring bag fees. Come on, somebody. See, when you go into the airport and you go to the counter, right? You're gonna probably have, depending on where you're going, you probably gonna have some good amount of bags with you. If you're traveling with more than one person, they're gonna have bags. They're gonna have some big bags, especially if you're female and you like to travel. I got 3 females in my family. They be loading them bags, right? They bag. I don't understand it. I don't understand what they were carrying in those bags, but they heavy. And so one thing that I noticed is how different airlines will check your bags on the plane. Okay. And usually there's a weight limit of 50 pounds. Okay. And if your bag goes over 50 pounds, you got to pay something called bag fees. Right. So that means your bag too heavy to be carried on the plane. How many of y'all have been bringing people around your life that have been weighing your plane down with bag fees? Come on, somebody. See, that's the problem.
My
That's why
God.
we can never, ever take off into our new destination because we keep carrying around heavy loads. We keep carrying around people who are always negative toward us, who are always discouraging us from going after our purpose because they thinking, oh, this has never been done before. Oh man, nobody in our family has ever done this. Why are you going after this route? Why don't you stay here? Are you sure? Are you sure you want to go here? Are you sure that this is the purpose of your life? See, a lot of people, they talk about, oh, I have faith. I'm praying to God, this and that. I'm a believer, right? But then when he asks you to do something that's outside the norm, then all of a sudden you want to play hide and seek.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you want to be like, oh, I don't know about this direction. I don't know about this guy. Like, I don't know. Like, I that's not what I had in mind. Stop thinking about what you had in mind because that's not how it's going to be. So you want to get the maximum out of your life. You have to be willing to do what nobody else is doing. So
no, absolutely. It's that baggage that you carry. And when they start saying that to themselves, like you said, the baggage, it all comes from fear of the unknown. So how do we get rid of that fear? You know what I'm saying? Because if not, you're going to pay the price for that fear of being stuck, never getting where you need to be, of never being where you need to be. And it's a complete showstopper because it stops you from getting ahead. And yet all it does is cause consequences.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. See, here's one thing I want y'all to realize. Whenever you start to make progress, your enemies will start to attack.
Ooh-wee.
Let me say that one more time.
So
whenever you start to make progress, your enemies will start to attack. Excuse me. So this happens all the time. People gonna leave you when you're down, but here's the thing: when you get up, man, that's when they start to attack the most, and that is what allows our plane to spiral out of control. That's why we tend to lose control of the wheel or of the steering wheel. I'm sorry, because of an attack that is made by our haters. See, that's why sometimes we still end up having a hard time going to that next level in our life, is because we let our enemies dictate our direction. See, we already had a clear direction.
Mm,
All we had to do was just land the plane. But because we let our enemies,
mm,
we let those people that doubted us, we let those people that hated on us tell us, oh, no, you're not going to make it.
mhm,
You ain't going to make it. You ain't going to be here. You ain't going to be nothing. Because we allowed that to
mhm,
happen
mhm,
is the reason
mhm,
why we tend to never get to where we need to be. And so I want y'all to really,
mhm.
I want y'all to help me. I want y'all to do this for me, man. Every time that an enemy comes to attack, I just want you to say, appreciate you, my brother. Now watch me work. Appreciate you, my sister.
Yeah,
Now watch me work.
yeah,
See, that's our problem right now. That's our problem. Is we let our haters get in our mind. And that's why we tend to we tend to go out of control. Because don't you realize that they see you? See, let me tell you something. Your biggest audience is gonna be your haters. Your biggest
yeah.
audience is gonna be your haters because your haters is always watching you. You believe that? Your haters is always watching you because you know why they watching you? They watching to see if you're gonna crash that plane. That's why they watching you, bro. Because they know that the path you're on is incredible. But because they
Yeah.
wish that they were on that path and they aren't right now, that's why they come and attack you. So be ready to be attacked along your journey because I don't want you to think that, oh, because I'm doing well, I'm doing great. That don't mean that there's not going to be any attacks that come your way. See, we talk
Mhm.
about going on journeys. We talking about, yeah, clear your mind, all that stuff, because that's important because you got to be ready for the attacks. You got to be ready
Yeah.
to handle those attacks that people try to throw at you.
Yeah. I think that like those people that you talk about are a part of that decluttering process. I can't tell you how many times in my life I had to part ways with people because of that, because they weren't there for me. They fed me negativity, and it didn't help the path that I was going on at all. What it did was bring down my path. And so I would start to feel bad. I would start to feel like them because they in their minds couldn't get it together. So that phrase that misery loves company is so true. How many of us have heard that? Misery loves company, and it's so true if you think about it. Every time someone comes to attack you, it's because they see something in you that they don't have and that they wish they could have. And so sometimes you have to take that and you have to move apart from that, and you have to say, okay, I'm going to go on my own journey because right now you're not conducive or you're not serving any purpose in my life. And I have a story about that. I always got stories. So I had a friend. I had made friends with this person, and this person was a friend of mine, and I thought we were so good friends. But I kept noticing throughout our friendship, I was going a certain way. I was in my first master's. It was 2000. What was it? 2000. I want to say it was 2008. I started my master's. I don't even know. It was so long ago. Anyway, so I was studying and I was living in Florida, and this person became my friend very quickly, and we became very close. Well, what happened was that after a while I started noticing that she would put me down, that she would say bad things to me, or she would talk, or she would criticize the fact that I love, because I love to study, I read, I like learning new things. So she would kind of criticize the way I was, criticize what I was wearing, criticize, or sometimes she would sit down and throw personal things that I had said to her out when we were all in conversation and people were around. It was always like a constant personal attack towards me. And let me just tell you something. I my father always showed me, yo, don't say anything, be quiet, just, don't worry about it. And I know he was trying to do something positive and teach me how to not have conflict. But I had to relearn that day because I remember clearly the disrespect that came out of her mouth. And it was so disrespectful, and so I think I had enough. It got to the point where friends of mine didn't want her around. The negative attitude, the energy was just so thick. And I remember one day saying, I remember crying. And one of my best friends saying to me, you know, you don't have to put up with anything you don't want to. And that's the day I walked out of my house. I walked out of my car. I I shut the door and I never spoke to her again. And let me tell you something, it's been about 10 years. I have no ill will towards people. I wish her well, but I knew that I had to separate myself. Why? Because, like you said, that energy was dragging me down and not bringing me into my purpose. And that's the key. If there are things that are dragging you down, not bringing your purpose, it's the enemy. That includes negative self talk, people. That includes anything that is going on that is not bringing you into your purpose. So I have to wholeheartedly agree with you, you know? And for me, it was a learning experience. And so now, as I get older, anything that does not serve me to go into my purpose, to go forward, I've learned to eliminate it, with no hatred, no nothing. There's no reason for that because I've understood, where is this person coming from? Where are they operating from? And 9 times out of 10, they're operating out of brokenness. Broken can be fixed. They're not damaged. I hate when people say damage. Damage doesn't exist. Broken exists because you can fix broken. But if they're not willing to see it, they'll never fix it. So you've got to move on. And you've got to say, you want to know what? Thank you. You served your purpose in my life, but I think I have to go the other way in order for me to be successful. And I thank God I did. Um, just because I learned what I needed. I learned that in doing so, I found peace. I found solace. And now that I'm older, Chris, now that I'm older and I'm looking at this, and when I see something, I immediately know. When I see a red flag and I see too many things that are too conflictive or not conducive to what I'm trying to do, I simply just become self aware, ask myself where it's coming from, recognize it, and part ways peacefully. And I think that a lot of times people don't know how to do that. I mean, I don't know. Have you ever had to part ways with somebody
Oh
or
yeah.
something that was serving?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you can talk
yeah.
about. I mean, I can go into the fact that I didn't realize this till after I graduated high school. Um, it's funny how like there's about 4,000 people that went to my school. I went to one of those big schools. Like a bunch of people at my school, a bunch of people. I think there's about 1,000 people in my graduation class. I hardly talk to any of them now. And
Oh,
just looking back, and then looking back, just at my high school experience, thinking that all these people was, you know, gonna be there. You know how people be. When they get all emotional, they be like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be here for you. This, that, that. I'm gonna make sure to hit you up. I'm gonna call you."
yeah.
What I came to realize, that was kind of me stepped into, almost that real world. How like, sometimes when you separate people like that, especially from an environment where, it's kind of like everybody going there, everybody, seeing each other every day. See, I kind of came to realization that, the older you get, the less and less people, man, you hang around. So,
Oh, that's a big one for me. The
mhm.
older I got, I realized the more that I had to let go and the more people, because it wasn't conducive to my peace. I think you get to a point where peace is number one. And when you're looking for that peace, you're willing to let go of anything that um, doesn't I don't want to say I'm thinking about it in Spanish. That's the problem being bilingual. It's not conducive to your speech, your peace. Um, and so you let it go with such ease as you get older. You're like, oh, I don't want that. And it's funny because I saw a meme the other day that said exactly the same thing. I'm like, oh my God, that's me. If it's not conducive to your peace, let it go. And I think I look back and I have friends from high school and we're cool, but some of them we don't even talk anymore. Some of them I never even see. I just see them through Facebook. But we don't interact in Facebook either. We don't interact on anything. And not because of anything, it's just years have faded. Um, and then there's people that out of high school that I had, when I say dealings, like, we knew each other, we had friendships. that I look back now and I say to myself, wow, I can't believe I put myself in that position and I allowed this person to feed into that negativity. And I think as you become older, it's something that you do, and I think that's part of decluttering your life. Period.
I think like when you get older in that regard, and I want to be able to speak this because I know like maybe some young people might be watching this maybe in high school and think that
Yeah.
oh like I'm gonna have all these people there for me and stuff like that. I'm gonna have all these friends, stuff like that. Here's the reality situation. The reality situation is like we said, the older you get, the more really your friends get, the more really your people become in your circle, because there's a lot of people that wish you well, but realistically, they don't want well for you. And
Oh,
it's not because it's not because they don't think you're a bad person. It's just that when you get older, like when you get out of high school and you trying to, become a man or a woman, you trying to get it together, you just kind of thinking more about yourself. And that's really what it is. When you graduate high school, when you lose some of these friends, some of them may not just be thinking about you the way you think they are. And nothing wrong with
mm-hmm,
that. I mean, everybody just go different ways. But that's why you got to
mm-hmm,
have some type of goals and ambitions for yourself. Sometimes you got to be a little selfish. Sometimes, you may be trying to include all these people. Sometimes, people ain't always going to, be on the same, click clack with you, man, but it's all good. Like I
mm-hmm,
was saying earlier, you don't have to force your way into a friendship or a relationship with somebody. You know what I'm saying? So I think the reason why, like, a lot of those people I didn't keep in contact with at the high school is just because, they had different routes and different paths. Some of them,
mm-hmm.
like, some of them were I ain't gonna fake. Some of them were fake. Some of them,
Yeah.
like, they would smile at me in school. They were like, oh, hey, what's up, Chris? Like, how you doing? And then I'll be like, yo, like, I remember a few times I try to hang out with some of them in high school. They'd be like, oh, I'm busy. And then they'd be talking about, oh yeah, on Snapchat, because I had Snapchat back then. I don't have that no more. But you can see them on
Oh
Snapchat.
gosh, that still
You,
exists.
you style you that still exists. I mean, sure, where like people on Snapchat, like them friends I try to hit up like during the weekend or something when I would be free. I was like, yo, like you trying to hang out, you trying to come to this, do this. They be like, nah, I'm busy. But then they be on Snapchat, like posting where they at, posting, pictures with them and in groups of other people. So just kind of show you, man, like sometimes, people
Mm-hmm,
carry around that fake mentality to where they smile in your face, but then they talking about bad about you behind your back. So, you just gotta you
mm-hmm.
gotta just watch yourself, man. You gotta watch yourself and you gotta
You know,
huh?
like I wanted to chime in on that. People who act that way, they're operating from a broken mode. And when I say broken, because that's what they've been taught. They've been taught that. So the only thing, it's like their vice. The only vice or the only mode of operating is that. And that's what they run to. So, like you said, it's not that they hate you, they don't really hate you. It comes off as that. But what it is that they're actually broken because they've been taught to do the same in their household. It's like their programming. Everybody's programmed. So, your parents mold you. When you're born with a blank slate and you get taught how to eat, how to brush your hair, how to brush your teeth, all those other things. And so they teach you how to think. And subconsciously, you're taught, even by actions. You pick up what your parents have done. You pick up the habits. And so when people are like that, and what we call now as haters, um, that's where they're operating from. And it's not an excuse, it's a way for us to understand how they operate. And that's where we can learn how to make the decision. Do we want this person in our lives? Is it conducive to the things that I'm trying to do or the person that I am? Does it align? A lot of times it doesn't align. And that's where you can make the choice to separate yourself from that.
See, sometimes, the older people get, they start thinking differently, than you. Like I actually, you know what, speaking of high school, I actually did uh go see a friend in Columbus, Ohio, not too long ago. And it's just crazy. Like now, me and him used to be, tight. Well, we still kind of are, but it's just like seeing him now after he graduated, because he was like 2 years younger than me. And I remember he
Mm-hmm.
graduated from high school in 20. And I went to a
Yeah.
senior not too long ago. And it's just crazy like how now my man completely different. Like he do stuff that I wouldn't necessarily do. You feel me? Like my man
Yeah.
involved in that type of life where it's like that fast life of what people call it, trying to, get money,
Mm-hmm.
smoke weed, all that stuff, get girls, all that different stuff, man. So it's kind of just, shocking to kind of go to realize that, some people they go their different ways, man. And that's just the nature
Yeah.
of people as they get older. Some people change all the time. But
Yeah.
sometimes like you can't necessarily always sometimes like people just gotta figure it out. And
No. Yeah.
and sometimes like, you may try to, maybe they were your friend back then and then now they, they're a completely different person, but
Mm-hmm.
it shouldn't be like, oh, like, what do I do now? It's just now, they just trying to figure it out. But what you can do is just continue to keep moving forward with your life. Offer some assistance here, what I'm saying? Maybe offer a little assistance, but at the end of the day, you can't be dependent on too many people to kind of force yourself to vibe with you if they ain't going, what I'm saying? If they ain't gonna be in that same boat as you. Sometimes people just don't see what you're trying to do. And when you try to have conversations with people about what you do and sometimes they don't vibe with it, it's all right. Just know that the purpose you have for your life is different from their purpose. I have no problem with people who drink, people who smoke, people who do that. But it's just for me, like I just got a different lifestyle than you.
Yep.
I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to agree with it at all. I don't agree with anything that you do. But just know
Right.
that I'm on a different purpose in my life. So maybe that stuff that you doing, it don't align with me because I'm trying to go this way and you're trying to go another way. So just realize
Right.
that people just gonna have different paths than you. That don't mean they bad. Don't mean that don't wish nothing on them. But it's just like
Yeah.
sometimes in order to keep your boat or keep your plane moving, you got to put the right fuel in it. And so if you
Oh,
got
absolutely.
if you got toxic fuel in your engine, it's gonna break down. So you have to
Mm-hmm.
be aware of just who do you let in your circle, who do you
Yeah.
let influence you. You know what I'm saying? Who do you? Because that's life. Like the type of people you around is the type of people you become. So
Mm-hmm.
if you hang around negative people, if you hang around people that's doing the wrong thing, well, guess what? You're gonna be adapted to it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as
I think I think that that's so important, Chris. And you touched on something you said doesn't mean you hate them, but it's simply setting up boundaries. I think that's the most important because um, if they don't teach you with dignity and respect, and they're not going on the same path that you are, I mean, even if they have, but you understand that there's toxicity involved, and you understand that that's not something that's aligning with you, then it's important to let that go and set up your boundary. I've had so many people I come across, like you said, like your friend, that are basically on a whole other level than I am. And I've not necessarily let them go, but I've set my boundary. They won't be allowed into my personal life, or they won't be allowed to see what I have to offer personally. So for me, it's that boundary I set in place. And it's a healthy boundary. You know, um, People have to earn your trust. People have to have that privilege to be around you. If you hold yourself with high regard, you hold those two things. People you are a privilege to get to know, and they have to be healthy around you if you're trying to go somewhere. And I'm not sure if a lot of people think that way. I mean, I would hope everybody does. But unfortunately, some don't. Some don't. So they allow the toxicity to keep coming in, and it doesn't allow them to go anywhere. And that's where the baggage we spoke about before comes in, because there's consequences and repercussions to it. So, um, setting that boundary is the difference between a healthy life and an unhealthy one.
yeah, I know that tends to be a struggle, whether it's with kids in school or even adults. You know what I'm saying? You got to be able to establish. I've mentioned this before in a way back when episode when I had my co-host Tiffany Chanel. You know, it's like
Mhm.
when you think of a road, you know, you got solid lines and you got dash lines, right? So, you know, when you're driving, I don't know how it is over there in Puerto Rico. Maybe it's the same, but you know, in the States, people know what I'm talking about. Like you got a solid line, you got a dash line. So usually solid line mean you can't cross. But dash
Yeah.
lines mean that if you're on the freeway and you're trying to switch lanes, you can, because that means you can switch
Yeah.
lanes. And so when we talk about setting boundaries, you know, you got to have those solid lines, right? To where you can't have just anybody just come in your lane and just disrupt what you're trying to do.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's what, you know, because that's what some that's what people can do. Sometimes when you let the wrong people in over your lane, what's gonna happen is
Hmm.
they're gonna crash your vehicle because you're gonna be going this
Hmm.
way, they're gonna be going this way. Because usually solid line mean that's a one lane road. So you could be going this way, they be going this way, crash. Understand? So that's what we're talking about,
Yeah.
setting them boundaries. Don't let nobody just go in your lane and crossing your lane. You know what I'm saying? Just don't do that.
Ab-
You gotta, you gotta,
Absolutely.
you gotta have those boundaries to where you know what you want for yourself. Once you figure out what you want for yourself, you gotta figure out what you're willing to accept. You know, some people just
Yeah.
accept anything. Some people just like, yeah, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do that. But it's like,
Yeah.
is what you're doing gonna benefit you though? Is what you're doing
Right.
really gonna take you to where you want to be, or is it just because you're doing it just to please somebody else? So you got too many people pleasers out here. Talking about, oh,
Mm.
I want to do this for my friend, you know, my mama this and mama them, you know, I want to do all this and that.
Hmm.
But it's like, what do you want? What do you want for yourself?
Hmm.
You driving yourself crazy, going trying to do everything else for somebody else. But what is it that you want? See, again, boundaries. What do you want for yourself? What are you willing to accept? You gotta have things you're willing to accept and willing to not accept. And that's the thing we don't
Right.
have. And that's
Right.
why we go so crazy all the time, is because we just want to just say yes to everything, even though it may not be right. We're going to say yes to it anyway, just because it makes this person happy. And that's why we deal with so many of these stresses, is because, and that's the reason why our vision is so blurred, is because we feel obligated to please everybody else, but we don't really want to please ourselves because it's all about everybody else. So, like I
You
said,
know, that's interesting that you say that because, excuse me, that stops us from really aligning with our purpose. And so
mm,
you said it, getting clear about what we want allows us to align with our purpose. So if we get clear and say, well, I'm going to go this way. And all those who are trying to crash over into our lane, we go, and we set that boundary and it allows that person to walk away and allows us to walk in our purpose. And it's really difficult. People, and the reason why it's so difficult, Chris, is because they have that clutter in their brain. Well, my mom always taught me to be this way. My dad always taught me to be this way. So they play it in their minds like, well, I got to be that people pleaser because that's the way I was taught and that was it. So they're constantly thinking that in their mind, but then they're pleasing people who really aren't conducive to what they're doing. And it's just toxicity coming in once again. And so it's like you said, it's that toxicity crashing over into the lane where we should be able to set up a clear boundary and be able to say no. But boundaries are hard to clear if we don't clear the clutter in our mind. I know it was for me. I can tell you, setting my boundaries was the most difficult thing. And I learned to do that with that friend of mine years ago. And I never looked back ever since because I realized, one, how it felt like I had something lifted off my shoulder once I let it go, because that toxicity weighed me down. And it was the constant negativity, the constant, and although in her mind, she probably thought it was funny, she probably thought it was this, and no one thought it was funny. No one thought it was funny except her. And she had problems with everybody, even family members. And so to this day, I take that example and I take it with me and I say, well, I don't want to ever live that again because the way I felt wasn't conducive and it dragged me down. I started feeling bad about myself. Like, is this true? Maybe what she's saying is true. Well, she's a friend. She would never lie. then I realized that's not really a friend. That's someone who's very broken on the inside and sees something in me that perhaps maybe they want or can't stand. Who knows? I cannot say. I cannot call in the operation of that person's mind, but I can definitely say it was not a place of humbleness. It was not a place of healing. It was not a place of alignment with what I wanted for my friends, for the things around me, for the people I wanted around me. It was difficult. It was difficult to let her go. And so, but when I did, I understood why. And it was the right thing to do because inside I felt like that relief. I mean, I don't know if anybody's ever felt that, but that was my experience. So, um, that boundary is so important. And the first rule to that is having faith in yourself and trusting those who earn it. So when they earn it to be there, then you know. Um, but they have to earn it. They have to earn that. And I realized that because I allowed a lot of things to happen because I wasn't setting that boundary and it wasn't doing anything for me. And she was crossing, like you said, over the lane. And it was a solid line.
Ooh, that's dangerous. Because you already know them solid lines
Yeah.
indicate that you got to go one way. So if you got people in
Yeah.
the lane, you know, when it says solid line, like that's basic driving school 101. You cannot cross when it's
Yeah.
a solid line. And some of y'all letting people do that. So, like I said, like them boundaries is very important. And, you know, you got to be willing to figure out what you're willing to accept and things you're willing to not accept. Right. But
Absolutely.
I know we run a little short on time, so we go ahead and wrap it up, man. But you already know this was a great conversation with Miss Sandra. You know, we'll continue to keep having these conversations because it's important. You know, I know that I've been thinking about trying to talk about this one topic with her, but I'm gonna keep it a surprise. You know, I'm not gonna say it on camera because I want y'all to tune in next time and be able to check this out because this been on my heart, man. It's been on my heart lately, and I want to continue to keep talking about this topic that man it's crazy, bro. It's crazy. But y'all got to find out this week, man. But y'all already know what it is, man. Go check out Miss Sandra on IG at Sandy. Was it Sandy Vet, right? Sandy Vet. How
Yeah, Sandy Yvette. Let me
Sandy?
spell it for you. Sandivettete. That's me.
There you go. Check her out on Instagram. Still waiting on that post. You gonna post my stuff later?
Oh yeah, I already posted it. So if you check on
Okay.
my, actually, I'm gonna be posting it. Sorry,
Oh, I was
I'm going to be posting it later. So yeah, check it out on my Instagram. It's a first part of our podcast. Big shout out to Chris and thank you for having me here. So you'll see that on my post and yeah, I look forward to many more podcasts with you, Chris.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. This will definitely not be like one of the only times you'll see her because you're gonna see her quite often. So we're gonna have some very, very deep conversations. So just be ready, man. Be ready. Be ready to, you know, for us to be able to spread the truth, spread the word out here, man. But anyway, as always, follow me on Instagram at Disinfect Your Life. There's no spaces, no capitals. Once again, follow me on Instagram at Disinfect Your Life. There's no spaces, no capitals. Go check out my latest and greatest. You know, I got my new series, Know Your Worth Wednesday. I've done 8 episodes of that. So definitely go back and check them out, man. Cause I'm telling y'all need to listen to this stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling y'all, man, I got some great information for y'all on there. So definitely go check that out along with, you know, I do it with my girl Heather all the time. So every Wednesday, tune into us on my Instagram live and you'll be able to see the Know Your Worth Wednesday segment. Follow me on Twitter as well at This In Your Life. That's at DISN Your Life. And I forgot the number 1. So again, that's at DISN Your Life and the number 1. And then follow me on Facebook. For my older generation who still use Facebook, follow me on Facebook at Disinfect Your Life. Once again, that's at Disinfect Your Life. And then definitely on my Instagram page, check out the new updated link tree. Got all my links in there. Got my got my channels to the different podcasts. You know, I got my social media. I got my book on there. I also got my connect call. So for those of you who looking to have like a little 15-minute conversation with me, You know what I'm saying? Definitely go sign up for you. Connect call is free. You know, I don't charge, man. Like I said, it's free. You know, we can have a free one-on-one conversation about anything you like, man, because I want to make myself available. You know, I just want people to feel like, you know, they can have somebody to talk to and, you know, be able to get some great wisdom, great knowledge from, you know what I'm saying? So don't be afraid, man. Go ahead. You know, like I said, the link is all in the Instagram bio under my link tree. So definitely go check that out, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm going place this year, man. 2022, I'm going place, man. Next time you see me, I might be in the studio, bro. I might be in a studio setup, man. You know what I'm saying? I might have like a little better camera than this little computer camera that I got. But yeah, you already know that's gonna be in the works, man. That's gonna be in the works. But anyway, y'all, this your boy, Chris Simmons, alongside special guest Sandra Cruz. We out. Take care, y'all. Peace.
Peace.